What you are about to see will shock you. No camera tricks, no special effects, nothing but incredible moments from the heroic to the tragic on Wild and Crazy Caught on Tape, location Russia. The following incident took place over a small town outside Moscow. Here, a fireworks show turns tragic as a helicopter shooting the fireworks catches fire and crashes to the ground. The idea was a novel one. A fireworks show launched entirely out of the belly of a moving helicopter. Sadly, something goes wrong and a fire starts in the body of the helicopter. Smoke seeps into the helicopter's cockpit and blinds the pilot. Valiantly, he tries to land, but loses control and tragically crashes into the ground right in front of the horrified spectators. It's certainly a spectacular way to go, but terrible nonetheless. During an auto race on a beautiful country track, a driver loses control and runs into a group of spectators. Fortunately, everyone survived, but some people definitely needed medical attention. Luckily, the driver had managed to slam on the brakes right before the accident and slow down a bit just in time. Otherwise, it might have been a far grislier story. As it is, somehow he manages to extricate himself from the smoldering wreck and walk, or at least limp, away. And here's a disturbing piece of video that took place on a recent Valentine's Day. Lately, local residents have started calling the Crimean Bridge in Moscow the Suicide Bridge. Rescue rangers and suicide control specialists talk attempted suicides down off the top of the bridge fairly regularly. This time, however, rangers couldn't stop this disturbed fellow from jumping. But, miraculously, paramedics were able to barely save this disappointed Romeo's life after he landed. Though one would imagine he certainly looked better. Like celebrities, these days, prominent athletes and their coaches are increasingly at risk from a deranged public. Oleg Romantsev, coach of the Moscow soccer team Saturn, is hit in the head by a bottle thrown by an angry fan. Time to stop arguing that call. He's quickly shuffled off to a safer spot under a protective enclosure, where, while other staffers try to find out who threw the offending bottle, medics are able to tend to the wound. And in a matter of moments, treat the bruise with a special anesthetic designed for this type of injury. Coach Romantsev then tries to find the offender and settle the score, but cooler heads convince him to let it go and get on with the game. Here it is again. Bonk, ouch, sit down, and pour. Here a group of men have decided to organize an arm wrestling competition. Over 40 people signed up. Unfortunately, the festivities were clouded by this incident. Either he didn't warm up properly or caught a bad break, but after a few seconds of competition, our man on the floor finds himself with a new and unexpected broken arm. Here it is again. Now, you don't have to be an arm wrestling expert to be pretty sure that he's lost this match, and no amount of sitting on the floor and crying is gonna change that. Before performing circus tricks with live animals in front of an audience, the tricks must be vetted by a special circus committee. At the committee meeting, however, this trick's future looks positively grim. It's pretty certain these performers and their bear from the Kazan circus will be sent packing to continue their training and to get their bear under control. Clearly, the bear was just not in the mood this time. He's disobeying and even attacking his trainer. One shudders to think how this might have ended up without a muzzle on that angry bear. Though they've lost control of the bear, the group is able to chase him off the stage. Let's hope no one was standing behind that curtain eating a blintz. The sports desk of a local TV news program sent a cameraman to cover a car race. Everything was going according to plan, more or less. Cars were racing around and flipping over on the track, while the cameraman stood on the side of the roadway waiting for the best shots to shoot for his report. As you can see, gravity isn't these cars' closest friend, as they tend to roll over rather easily. All of a sudden, one of the racers skids and flips over and nearly clobbers the cameraman. It could easily have flattened him like a pancake. He got off with a close call, but let this serve as a reminder that auto racing is a dangerous sport, both for drivers and cameramen alike. And here's a compilation of more racing misadventures. Watch out, these racers aren't all that different from your average Russian driver. Think about that next time you're on the highway. All right, maybe most commuters don't flip over quite as much, but still, as they say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's said that taking things down is a lot more fun than building them up. Here, these enormous cranes have outlived their usefulness. Either they've been declared unsafe or the work they were put there to do is done, and a team of daredevil demolition welders has been brought in to take them down. And take them down, they do. The welders turned what could have been a routine process into an extreme show, seemingly delighting in the risks they were taking. Remember, this steel isn't light. One wrong move and you could be squashed like a bug. Here comes a particularly big piece. It's unclear whether this fellow had time to get down before the hulking mass of metal starts listing and then falls. One would imagine he did. Did somebody say timber? And now they can sit down, relax, and enjoy some good Russian vodka after the dramatic day's work has been done and done well. And with the risks they've been taking, who's to say they haven't been drinking all along? Kickboxing is a sport for tough guys, and as it turns out, you have to be pretty tough to be a kickboxing referee, too. Generally, the ref's job is to keep the fight clean and pull the fighters apart when they get into a clinch. It's not an easy job, but it's not usually as hard as it was on this particular occasion. The fight's going along as planned. Perhaps there's a bit of payback involved. Either way, the ref's not expecting a direct shot to the family jewels. Perhaps the fighter mixed up the men and hit the poor ref instead. Hard to say. Here it is again. And pow! Right where it counts. Not sure what the other ref is doing here. Either way, the audience and the combatants took a breather while the poor ref took his time recovering. So you think you've seen everything. How about a camel race? Despite their huge humps and awkward appearance, camels can be surprisingly fast. But unlike horses, they are extremely cranky and will rarely miss a chance to throw off their riders, as you can see here during this race in Uzbekistan. And here again. That's gonna leave a mark. On New Year's Eve, as on seemingly every other night in Russia, people like to drink heavily. This tends to make one a lousy dancer. Pretty good at judo, though. It's hard to maintain one's dignity, falling all over the place on top of each other in public. But then, whoever said anything about dignity? Hi-ya! Hey, is that my tooth on the floor? I don't know. Let me throw you over there so you can get a better look. And it doesn't have to be New Year's Eve or a rip-roaring wedding reception to make a fool of yourself. These young people are practicing human ice bowling. Oh, and they nail the elusive three-person spare. Well done. Wine flows pretty freely at most Russian weddings, but heavy drinking doesn't make wedding guests forget ancient, often oddball traditions, such as the stealing of the bride's shoes. It's hard to say where this tradition originated. Regardless, in this case, the groom, after the ceremonial poking of the perpetrator in the rear with a fork, blocks the attempt with what looks like a three-quarter Nelson. And should we wrap that champagne bottle up for you? No, I'll just wear it here, thanks.